Tyler Algier wants $22 million in free agency. Given his level of performance, I think it is perfectly reasonable to ask, can I win $250,000 playing best ball? Zach, I sure hope so. And I sure hope that the Sidekick shares my goals, ambitions, and dreams. It seems to, because this is the most simpatico I've ever been with the Sidekick, because it gets to be about pick 75, 77. And it says, you want to do a little Mahomes? Just a little Mahomes as a treat? And I say, I would. I'd like that. I'd like that very much. And it says, okay, you go ahead. You have my full permission to do that really whenever you want.
Yeah, Mahomes being one of our highest drafted quarterbacks is something we haven't had in the Sidekick life cycle up until this point. So it is kind of fun. It's nice when you get to have like a different player where, for people that have been drafting the Sidekick for a little while, you're probably used to guys where we, oh my gosh, leg ups high on Jaylen Warren again. Who could have
predicted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is nice to mix in some new flavors, and Mahomes is certainly a pretty fun one. Him going in sometimes you get him in the 8th round, it's like they're giving us Patrick Mahomes in the 8th, and meanwhile I have to pay like a mid to early 10th for Tyler Shuck. Like make it make sense to me.
No, because the corresponding thing is not happening where quarterback prices are the highest they've ever been, right? Like Malik Willis is like a 12th round pick now, a guy with, I believe, 6 career passing touchdowns since being drafted in 2021, who is like just going all the time. Aaron Rodgers, who may or may not be playing football, is 100% drafted. We're taking Geno Smith in these drafts. We're taking JJ McCarthy in these drafts. I've taken Quinn Ewers in a draft this year, Zach. I've taken Quinn Ewers, and you're telling me that my options are Sam Laporta or Patrick Mahomes. Like, I feel pretty confident about what I'm gonna do there. And you guys will come around on Worthy. You won't yet. The Sims will get there on Worthy.
Believe it or not, I did have Xavier Worthy recommended as top guy to me on a team today. So I do have some Xavier Worthy in the portfolio now. Not terribly frequently, but as the landscape changes, it's easy to be drafting and be thinking, oh, if I keep drafting like this, I'm going to have 1,000,000% Kyler Murray or 1,000,000% Pat Mahomes. It's like, it's a long summer, man. You want to be exploiting the bad prices in every window. The prices are going to change. We're about to have the first major information dump with the combine, and that will lead to some market changes. And so you just want to be taking advantage of the players that are mispriced at the time that you're drafting. I'm personally not really concerning myself at all with exposures right now because I've drafted less than 200 teams, and I'll probably have 3,000 by the time the season starts. So,
Chase, you good with Chase over
TSN? Yeah. For the first round, I'm pretty much just always pure top guy, and we don't really deviate from the ADP very much in the first. Every once in a while, I'll see like Christian McCaffrey get flipped by JT or something like that, and then in the back end of the first round, there's sometimes it'll mix them up a little bit, but for the most part, you're going to get relatively even exposure just taking top guy in the first round.
You actually just made a great point there, which is like you don't really need to be trying to balance your range that much in February for a couple of reasons. The first being there's going to be 2 big information waves that we get. We have the combine, we have free agency. I think this year we'll probably have some trades. My guess would be during the free agency period, we're going to have some trades. We're going to have some guys being cut that are not necessarily expected. And also, if you were to enter every single thing that is in the lobby on DraftKings, on Underdog, wherever, maybe you could get, I guess if you because there's a 3-3-3 that you can do 10 times maybe?
I think it's 10, yeah, something like that.
So you could maybe get $6,000 of entry total, I think. So I'm not saying $6,000 is nothing, but I'm saying compare that to what the absolute deluge of contests that is going to be there for us starting in May. This is like this is like preseason DFS for regular season DFS. Like it's just we're playing very different games. I'm not going to do the 8.3% thing this year. I think that bit ran its course, but I'm definitely not doing it right now. Like I'm drafting a lot of iterations of very similar teams right now while still trying to protect my Jaccard score.
Yeah, I mean, last year, like at this point in time, we were still like restraining Pat. Everyone in the leg up rankings team was just, we were each taking a limb and holding him down on the Harold Fannin ranking. And we're like, dude, you can't go that crazy on duck footed Harold Fannin. He's maybe going to go in the third round. And Pat was frothing at the mouth, to let us, rank Harold Fannin higher. And so even at this point in the draft, I still hadn't, started slamming him, who ultimately ended up being my highest exposed player. Well, this looks like it could be fun. We might end up with a little Derrick Henry, Jamar Chase here.
Yeah, I'm good with him. I'm good with Henry here. I was convinced by Pat's argument on Neighbors the other day. There's been basically, it's just like, if Neighbors is who you need, like I'll get my Neighbors teams when we get good health news on him and he becomes more expensive. But right now, I do think Malik Neighbors is more like a falling knife than a clear value. I mean, one, they are well positioned to take a wide receiver in the draft. Not that that would like kill Neighbors, but maybe it would make a fully healthy Neighbors, 10% worse, 8% worse, something like that. But also, like every report on Neighbors' health has been, this does not look like a clean ACL recovery at all.
Yeah, and we've definitely got some missed time modeled for him. And I think our estimates of the probabilities of when he's going to return are pretty well dialed. And so when I see the Sims say, "Hey, don't really worry about taking Malik Neighbors at this price," I'm fine with that, because also we see this every single year. Guy who gets put on the PUP list that everyone knows is happening. We all know what's going to happen. Guy falls anyway. It's 100% known information. Even if you polled every drafter, like, "Hey, is Malik Neighbors going to get put on the PUP?" And 90% of people said, "Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going on the PUP." Those same people that said that still would be like, "Oh, the price has to go down now that he's been placed on PUP." It's like, well, what are we doing?
That's
so
just
a lot of double count.
I wish I had some sort of explanatory reason for why that is, but it doesn't seem to ever go that way. Are you good? Oh, a little Rashee Rice recommendation. What do you want to do here?
I'm good with Rashee. The thing that I really like about the way that we model the risk on situations like Rashee, where I think we went a little overboard on it, but we sometimes will put our thumb on the scale in that way, just so that we can have the confidence to say, "Hey man, if you're seeing Rashee, we promise he's a good pick," because we're saying he's missing the entire season, at some probability that we think is a lot higher than reality. And so if he's still popping as a good pick, wow, in the Sims, it's like there are lots of Sims where Rashee Rice scores you stone 0 points the whole way. It's like, okay, I feel pretty good then about taking him there. So I'm slurping the Dipperino.
You know what? I have him ranked, I guess, fairly negatively in my stuff. I think I moved him down into the 50s, which I think is, if you're just doing things off a ranking way, I think that's a good way to middle it, because it's hard to capture like a literal 0 in the range of outcomes. Like, guess who does not have a literal 0 in his range of outcomes? AJ Brown, Teteroy McMillan, whatever. These guys don't have that. The reporting on it is kind of interesting. I don't know if you caught that bit from Tom Pelissero yesterday, but he kind of said this interesting thing, which is like, he couched his first suspension as a violation of the personal conduct policy, not saying like you committed a felony, which is actually different. So it doesn't sound different, but it actually is different. It's different to be punished by the league for you committed a crime. On top of committing a crime, this is your punishment from the league. He technically was suspended under the personal conduct policy, which I think does make it a little bit easier. I mean, maybe this is a conspiracy theory. Maybe it's not. I actually think Roger would just love for the story to go away. And I feel almost as if suspending him maybe places more attention on, the marquee team of the league having this idiot on the team. So I don't know. I've changed my mind quite a bit. I've gone back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, when you get into like personal conduct policy stuff, I think Zeke is a really good example of you can be totally what the facts of the case don't particularly matter. It's really more about like what did you cause public perception to be surrounding us, right? Surrounding the league. Because in Zeke's instance, where he was suspended for personal conduct detriment to the league, the police recommended no charges be pursued. Like there was text message evidence that it was all fabricated. It's basically like a smear campaign from an ex-girlfriend. And I read, this was back in the day when I was just a diehard Cowboys fan, so I literally read every single page in all of the documents that got released surrounding that. And at that time, I was playing mostly home league stuff, not doing a ton of best ball or thing. I mean, best ball was probably in its infancy back then. You're doing like MFL 10s and things like that. But I was thinking, oh, there's no way Zeke gets suspended because, he's as innocent can be. And then the league comes out and they're like, well, actually, you made us look bad and we don't like that. And so that's more the threshold you have to clear. And so if that's the way that they're, and it comes down to, is that actually what the league is thinking with Rashee? And so it does make it a little tricky, but I think we are overly cautious on his probability to actually be suspended.
I mean, yeah, like Mark Hurtassel was making this point in the Discord the other day, but basically if you just dipperino slurped on every suspension, either suspension risk or actual suspension of the last like 4 years, you've printed. You've gotten, like, every case has been a win, which, that doesn't, just because one thing is true does not mean the correlated thing is true. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, it's pretty likely that Rashee Rice gets suspended for an entire season. I just don't know if it's this season or next season, right? And those are and he's definitely not getting a second contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. So if you have Rashee Rice bags in Dynasty Fantasy Football and someone wants to pay you sticker price on those, you could probably send that out the door. Not sure he's long for this world. Most recent update from Rashee is he is using his Instagram story to promote some scam mobile game. What could they even be paying him? How much money could this scam mobile game be paying Rashee Rice? I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel it's like what'd you get paid? $50,000 or something, maybe at tops.
Maybe that feels high. $50,000 from Instagram stories feels high.
I mean, some of these like iCasino type thing, like dude, they'll chuck a bag at you. So yeah, who knows? But yeah, as a Rashee Rice dynasty owner, let's just say I'm very glad I managed to win the ship last year because I think the window may be slamming shut on me now.
Yes. All right, so we talked on Devontae Adams and Jalen Waddle, so we actually have a more wide receiver focused build. Although on DraftKings, I do think the full PPR, the bonuses, like the caveman instinct to just draft running backs, like wide receivers. I mean, this is the scoring system for them. My instinct is to take Ramondre here. Sidekick is saying,
I would slam Mike Evans is like the best pick on the board right now.
I just
second to Kyler Murray, basically.
Kyler is a pretty good pick. I agree, especially as Malik Willis is getting so much more expensive. I was also having this conversation with Corinne the other day. I just have a hard time with Mike Evans because there is a greater escalating chance if he is not a Tampa Bay Buccaneer that this is, Dez Bryant in a Ravens jersey. Emmett
when
Johnson
Dez Bryant was a Raven, though, he was like so fully washed, and Mike Evans was still very dominant last year. Yeah. And if you look at the summary statistics and the peripherals, they don't look as good because they looked pretty bad for all of Tampa Bay because you had some pretty poor performances from Baker outside of the beginning of the season after he started playing banged up. I just think it's a really easy example of like, don't let the aggregate stats muddle what was actually going on underneath. It's why people who just are using data and like have no idea what's going on to actually like, what does the accumulation of the statistics actually look like? Like that's a pretty important factor. And if you were watching, as soon as Mike Evans came back, he just looked like Mike Evans, man. I
He
saw
did.
zero
He
fall
did.
off.
Damn. Fannin went. That
That's
is
okay, because
disappointing.
now we get both. You get Ramondre here, and then
And Mike
the
Evans.
sidekick is giving you a little tease there, like maybe a little Patrick Mahomes comes back to you.
Maybe a
Feel pretty good about that.
Mahomes there in round. I mean, pick 93. He's there. He's there all the time. Yeah, and I guess Evans also has he has some bad outs because of the contractual situation he finds himself in, where he is not in a place that values him just like as a human being as highly. But he also has outs to be like, okay, well, I signed a crazy incentive laden deal with the Bills or the Cowboys because Pickens, whatever. Like he's got a lot of outs here, and I don't know. What do you think he's going to get paid? Like, what do you think the Mike Evans contract is going to be?
It's probably in the he probably could get more than this, but I think that he's likely willing to he's not going to go somewhere just so stone terrible. That's Titans are probably willing to throw $1 billion at him because they have infinite cap space and nothing to actually spend money on. But I would assume that he doesn't take the absolute top of the market deal to go somewhere where it could be more enjoyable to play professional football. So probably like the low to mid 20s, I would think, average annual value.
Yeah, if he gets that, he is one of the better buys on the board. If he gets more like a DeAndre Hopkins Ravens contract or more like a DeAndre Hopkins Chiefs contract, not great.
I mean, when DeAndre Hopkins was getting those contracts, you got to remember when he was getting traded initially, he had torn his MCL earlier and wasn't able. They were wanting to trade him earlier, and he couldn't pass a physical that same season that he got traded. So the reason the DeAndre Hopkins trade took as long as it did in that season was because they literally had to wait for him to be able to pass a physical. Like, no surgery, is just like, oh God, I hope this knee gets healthy enough for you to pass a physical so we can trade you. And so then he's injured. He plays, he gets a contract off an injury, a season where he's not very productive because of injury. And then it's just over, and so we haven't seen that beginning of the end for Mike Evans. And I know it can come really fast for guys, but I mean, I'd be just as worried for Davante Adams having the end come for him as I am Mike Evans, based on both of their age and, the way they play the game. And also, Davante Adams, you have that additional risk of and Stafford's no spring chicken either. But Davante Adams goes in the 4th round. You get Mike Evans, in the 6th or sometimes even the 7th. So it's just such a huge discount.
Normally I do not take Davante Adams. We can take Stafford here. Sure. Why not?
Yeah. A little bummer that Mahomes doesn't make it back to us. I don't get Stafford very much.
I was going to say, I never get him because I almost always pass on him, particularly on non-Puka teams. So that's a nice little treat.
In this spot too, where, we're seeing, hey, people are taking quarterbacks. Some DK rooms, people actually ease off the gas on quarterback, and you can be a little more lax with it. But here it's like, man, people are taking quarterbacks. Let's just go ahead and get Stafford in. We're likely to want 2 more. And so this just makes it so, hey, worst case scenario, if we do end up with 2 guys from the really crummy tier of the questionable starters, like you get a Geno Smith and a Tua or something god awful at the end, that's okay. At least I have Stafford holding it down, and those 2 guys, someone will start in some weeks, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, just I find my general team construction just normally doesn't have Adams because I'm almost always taking a Chicago Bear over Davante Adams, whether it be Loveland or Burden. I don't think the kick is as in love with Luther Burden as I am, but
I've been getting Burden lately. It just depends. A lot of it depends on. It's not just how we have the player; it's the player relative to the other players that are around them. So we might really like Burden. Oh, I do actually really like getting Kincaid here, though.
You're
You're not in on Kincaid?
No, I prefer Gadsden, and this is this pick right here, particularly on zero running back teams, is almost, or hero running back team style, is always Rico Dowdle. I am
Gotcha.
just
Yeah, Dowdle's
I
a great pick too. I'm
it,
totally fine with that. But I feel like Kincaid, the price on Kincaid is really nice for the amount of upside that's like the upside case is so clear there where it's like, okay, guy who has troubling injury history, which obviously is a concern and something that's built into the range of outcomes, but guy who has troubling injury history stays healthy and maintains or even has a slight decrease in his efficiency. Like, I don't know, best yards per route run for a tight end, like it could very clearly be the number one option in his offense. Like, I see all the Khalil Shakir hate. So if we're hating Khalil Shakir, and I mean, I'm not super confident the Bills get like a Mike Evans or something like that in free agency. It could be wheels up for Kincaid.
I would say being even lightly suggested Khalil Shakir and Luther Burden is the worst thing about the Sidekick this year. It's just like, I guess on DraftKings it's a little bit more acceptable to get Shakir because his 8 for 62 is more valuable there. But every time that I am suggested Khalil Shakir on Underdog, I'm like, look, man, if Shakir's who you need in week 17, it won't be my season. We'll go to best. We'll go to the next DK melee, and that's fine.
I mean, you gotta think through it like from the standpoint of an entire season. Khalil Shakir is just an extra innings eater for you. You do need to start 3 wide receivers every week. Oftentimes in the current draft landscape, you might find yourself in a really heavy running back start, and then you're wanting to hammer, potentially 3 like mid-round quarterbacks. And so Khalil Shakir is just a pretty awesome way to be like, you know what? I'm going to make sure I get like 10 points in my wide receiver 3 spot here every week. And it doesn't have to be super sexy. It's just like the role is pretty darn secure there. His like worst case scenario is Kincaid ends up smashing and they bring in another guy and Shakir's kind of on the outs. But I think, the median outcome for Shakir is pretty good at the cost that you get him at.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I hope for the bit that Brandon Beane doubles down and doesn't add anything at wide receiver and just runs back, Shakir, Tyrell Shavers, Keon Coleman becomes a much bigger part of what they're doing. All right, so
Sniped on David
Montgomery
Montgomery is a
goes.
little painful here. That would have been a really good pick.
I like Gainwell better, and I love Juwan Jennings here. So
Juwan Jennings, the upside for Juwan Jennings feels pretty nice, where he just either San Francisco brings him back and like he's probably just their number one receiver then, or he departs and ends up somewhere that's pretty receiver needy. Like, could you not see Juwan Jennings going and
why is Juwan Jennings not going to get the biggest contract amongst free agent wide receivers?
Yeah, it's probably Juwan Jennings or Romeo Doubs, assuming Pierce gets tagged by Indy and they, negotiate with them through that. But yeah, I think it's Jennings or Doubs get the biggest contract in free agency. Evans is up there to challenge for AAV, but I think both of those guys will probably get longer contracts, and so like total money is probably in their favor.
Yeah, I just like I do. I think Jennings could be if Kansas City doesn't do Lemon or Tyson at 9, I do think Jennings could be one of the, like, if they're depending on what they plan to do at or I guess they pick at 10, would be Jennings would be a good fit in Kansas City, I think. I hate taking Darnold without JSN. I know I get why it makes a ton of sense, but I hate doing it.
Well, here's the thing. I think that you need 2 quarterbacks, and you would just much prefer them to be Sam Darnold and Kyler Murray than any other, than like, oh, I'll skip Sam Darnold right now and do Kyler Murray. And then it's like, okay. And then instead of Sam Darnold, now you're going to get stuck with like an Aaron Rodgers or like a, Cam Ward or something. Like, I think it's just, hey, you're going to need 2 quarterbacks. Let's take the one who's more likely to be gone, even if, we might think Kyler is a better straight up pick than Darnold, but you're more likely to get Kyler back. And we probably really want both of those guys.
What if the Seahawks totally shit out without Kubiak? Has anyone been brave enough to put their name to this take yet? That Sam Darnold without the Kubiak special sauce just like totally turns into, the prior 12. How many dropbacks did Darnold have before this year? 2,000, 3,000 dropbacks, maybe? Probably 2,000 dropbacks before this season.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know, man.
I don't love the Darnold price, but it's more a systemic thing for a lot of these quarterbacks where it's like the market is very confused about what to do with quarterback. They're like, oh God, we know we need to take more quarterbacks. Well, that just probably means we should push up all the worst ones. Like, or maybe like this pushing down of some of these really good ones. Like you have Pat Mahomes going in the 8th round here. Like I get lots of drafts where Jalen Hurts goes in the 7th round, right? Like you get all these guys that go in the 7th and 8th where it's like, no, maybe those are like 5th or 6th round type of picks. And so you just end up with this kind of compression of all the quarterbacks just getting jammed into these, round 8 through 12, basically. And then there's like nothing except that ambiguous potential starters later. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe these worse quarterbacks like Tyler Shuck and Sam Darnold and Mendoza and Bryce Young, Cam Ward should maybe all go like a little bit later. maybe it's better to not take them here, but you're constrained by the market and you do need to make sure that you have quarterback points. So sometimes you just got to eat your vegetables. And in this case where we missed out on some of our favorite targets.
I think Shuck is like broccoli, but with like lemon juice and like some cayenne pepper. I'm like, I don't mind eating, pick 120 Shuck.
But like, why Tyler Shuck over, like, here, let's look at the board. Okay. So like, why Tyler Shuck over CJ Stroud?
Because he can run, like really just because he can run a little bit. I'm also like I want to say I was one of the first people brave enough to hate on CJ Stroud. Like I'm not a believer. Now it's very funny because I actually find myself buying now because he's gonna have Tank Dell back. I would assume that Jaden Higgins is going to start over Xavier Hutchinson this year. So that'll be a big change. I would assume that Jalen Knoll will be ahead of, all the jabronis they were rotating last year. So maybe I'll end up being wrong about CJ Stroud. I don't know. Tank Dell coming back would be pretty big.
Yeah, we like Tank Dell okay, but it's squarely in the range of outcomes that the guy without a leg never got his leg back. So. There's definitely hey, the bottom can drop out and you open up your Tank Dell box and there's nothing inside.
Didn't you see the clip of him running on sand?
No, I haven't seen the clip of him running.
It's pretty impressive. It's pretty good. But yes, obviously that could be a big fat box of nothing. It's Zach also noting the good stuff, which is that I like Shuck over Stroud because he has a dog named Murphy.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But
so we got Connor there. Connor is a layup. Okay. You know what? This one is just it. Every time it tilts me too. This is another sidekick one where I'm like, I don't want Hunter Henry. I know structurally why it wants. Isn't Mark Andrews just a better pick?
You'll sometimes get. So here's the thing. I would take Hunter Henry here because over a large sample of drafts in this exact same spot, you'll get some Mark Andrews, and I know because I have. For me, it's just like. And I noticed this when, who was it? There was a player. Rome Odunze was popping up for me in a draft when I just really would have preferred Mike Evans over him. It's like, I want an IKB and take Mike Evans over Rome Odunze here. But I ate my vegetables and I clicked my top guy, Rome Odunze. And I definitely have way more Evans than Odunze. But that's because I think that Evans is probably a pretty good favorite to outscore Odunze next year. And also Odunze goes so much earlier than Evans. So I just took my Rome Odunze share and then in another basically identical spot, I think I was at like pick 70 versus pick 71 in two different drafts. And it was like almost identical roster construction. And it had me take Evans over Odunze. And so my like gut of wanting to click the players I prefer I just try to like throw that out the window because I'm going to draft so much volume that I'm like, I don't actually want to find myself with 0 Ramondre. I'd rather let the sidekick mix that in at 3% or 4% Ramondre, because if I had my way, I'd be like, oh, I like this player better here, or I like this player better here. And before you know it, you've just IKB'd off all the Ramondre, and you're like, oh, I didn't actually want 0. I just, it felt bad to take him on that team in the moment, because it's really hard to separate from your brain like, hey man, this is like 1 out of 3,000 drafts that you're going to do. Don't really worry about it. You don't have to get your favorite guy on every one of these picks. So,
you know what? That actually does kind of distill the problem, because I do just always want to take my favorite guys, and I like.
Oh, we all do.
Yeah, like I just think Mark Andrews is a lot better of a pick than Hunter Henry, because Mark Andrews has a 12 touchdown season in his range that Henry does not have. Yeah. This range of running backs to me, I think, by the way, after reading the most recent Joe Mixon thing, I think I'm nuking him again. I was taking him for a little bit. I think he's getting re-nuked for me. Vidal feels fine. I mean, these guys all feel kind of fine.
Yeah, you're in a build where the sidekick is like, I don't know. I want to ask you something after that, but so you're in a build with sidekicks like, oh, dude, you need some running back. We're kind of in like 0 RB adjacent territory here. Have you ever found yourself in a spot where the sidekick kind of does like a 0 RB / hyper fragile build where it's like, yeah, you're super light on running back, dude, and there's no saving you. Why don't we have you win all the other positions instead? But
so I have had ones where I'm like, I really need a running back here, and sidekick is like, dude, Katron Allen is not saving this. So
yeah, it's like lost cause. You're only winning this one anyway when James Conner is a smash. So don't worry.
Like you might as well take 5 tight ends or something.
Right.
On this
right.
One. Yeah.
I have it a lot too, where that happens, where you start really wide receiver heavy like this, and then you kind of end up, just missing out on some of the wide receiver targets that we like. Oh, do love Calvin Ridley though. That's like probably one of the best picks on the board right now.
I think he just went. I wonder if is it going to give us Tucker, or are we going to get some shitty receiver? Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
Tucker feels fine-ish. The Tucker is a restricted free agent, so I think you're actively rooting for him to return to Tampa Bay, because
I think he's a strong favorite to return to Tampa Bay.
Because if they non-tender him and they just throw him to the wind,
bad. Yeah, it's
then he becomes like Travis Homer, where it's like, well, remember Sean Tucker? Yeah, so you definitely want
They seem to really like him for the short yardage stuff too, and I think we might be seeing the Rachaad Whiteification of Bucky Irving in the kindest way.
It already happened.
Yeah, where you get Bucky doing the pass catching stuff, and then Sean Tucker takes more of the rushing stuff, which is annoying for the absolute ceiling for Bucky, but Bucky still can get there. I mean, if you get a really good run out on the Bucks, like, is it that hard to squint and see both Sean Tucker and Rachaad White as like a very diet Lions backfield, where you've got Bucky, who's the elusive, like lacks the explosion that Jahmyr Gibbs has. Like that's never Bucky's thing is like, he'll make you miss in a phone booth, and then like he'll run for 20 yards and get caught from behind, because he just doesn't have that top gear that some of the elite running backs do, like Gibbs. And then Sean Tucker kind of does have that top gear, but he's just a little bit less complete. And so I could definitely see this being a really exciting backfield if you get, the offense in Tampa Bay really humming, and the offensive line is healthier this season, because I feel like that's something that goes under discussed from last year.
People they do forget that guys like Bucky Irving happen all the time, and they're good for a little bit, and then the teams don't care, and they just move on relatively quick. Like, I'm sorry, man. Bucky Irving's just not that different from Philip Lindsay, guys. I know you guys. This is like one thing that me and my slappy audience really disagree on, is they just all love Bucky Irving, and I'm like, I don't know. He weighed like 187 pounds. Chase Brown too, by the way. That's another one where I'm like, I was on Chase Brown when the getting was good, and I am pretty disinterested at cost. Oh, the TJ Hawkinson. TJ Hawkinson is another one I'm always glad to see go before I pick, because I have no interest in whatever it is that his services have to offer right now. Penix. All right, sure, whatever.
Yeah, I think this is good spot to get Penix. We were talking about the Penix situation and like, does this regime actually want to roll with Penix? And Kareem made a really good point of like, if the Falcons decide that they want a different quarterback option than Michael Penix, there's so many good outs for Penix. Like, number one, you could there are teams that are so quarterback needy that they would be willing to pay hand over fist to trade for Michael Penix on a rookie deal, right? Or like, could you imagine the Jets like tripping backwards and falling into like getting Michael Penix as their quarterback? Like, they would be beside themselves. And so if the Falcons do decide that they want to move on, there's probably a trade market where they'd be happy. The Falcons would be happy to recoup that draft capital there. And then even if they do bring someone in, like, and it's the worst case scenario, they're not going to trade Penix, they bring someone else in to start. It's like the number of starters that would have full season job security where there's zero chance Penix gets a start later in the season is so low that the floor for Penix seems reasonably secure, where it's like, hey, worst case scenario, like this guy has outs to start even if stuff goes really bad. And he goes so cheap. Like Aaron Rodgers, there's, I think like on Call Sheet or Polymarket, I can't remember which one, it's like 65% chance that Rodgers plays this year. Seems pretty reasonable to me.
I would buy yes at that price. I think the Mike McCarthy signing with the Steelers pretty much put that in pen.
Yeah, as their plan for sure. But you have to remember, you're dealing with like a pretty volatile person here. Like there is definitely a non-zero chance that Aaron Rodgers has, identity altering psychedelic experience this offseason. He decides, you know what? I actually don't want to play NFL football. I really want to volunteer for Doctors Without Borders. Like that's my calling in life. I can sling some medicine around instead of slinging the old pigskin. Like there's just so much volatility with Aaron Rodgers where I believe that's the plan. And I even believe that that's probably his plan right now, but it's a long summer, buddy. Like there's a lot of psychedelics he could consume in that time.
It's true. Chase Brown did dunk on me, but in the exact way that the only way he could.
Via injury?
He was losing 45% of snaps to Samaje Perine. So my point, I think, was ultimately process-wise, I'm giving myself the W. This is actually true. Chase Brown's highest scoring fantasy point game of all time, Samaje Perine scored a 1-yard touchdown in that game. Like those are the kind of situations that it's hard to run good there.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm
not saying that Chase Brown is going to go to zero. I'm just saying Chase Brown is, if you look at the guys who go in the first 2 rounds, these guys' percentage chances of going to zero are all zero. Every single running back in the first 30 picks, their chances of being replaced are 0. Chase Brown's chances of being replaced are like 10, 15% or whatever.
Yeah, I think dunking on you for Chase Brown last year is a little bit of revisionist history too. Through the first 8 weeks of the season, he was like, go back and listen to like whatever.
He was awful.
Whatever your normie fantasy football pod of choice is. Like, I promise you that in like week 6 or 7, they were talking about should you cut Chase Brown. I promise. Like that was like all the rage. And then he gets through that. And then Samaje Perine lands there, and he starts taking meaningful work from him, like legitimately out-snapping him, having more high-value touches. Like
for the first 8 weeks of the season, Chase Brown was the running back 20, averaging 11.2 fantasy points per game.
That's what I'm saying. And then after that, you get this window where it's like, oh no, like not only is it as over as it was, it's even more over because Samaje Perine is the preferred guy. I like Jacoby Lane as well.
I took him over Brazel. That's one of my
he's fun.
My stands.
Jacoby Lane, I mean, for all the kids out there that are hip to the lingo, Jacoby Lane is mogging DBs in the end zone. Like
he is.
If there are NFL GMs out there that are like, you know what, we need a frame mogger out here, Jacoby Lane is the frame mogger.
I wonder here. Let me run my new code and see if I can get a Jacoby Lane comp. Can you give me the top 3 Jacoby Lane comps? I bet. One of them is going to be Mike Evans.
Do we get a or
Mike Williams? Sorry.
who's the he was like a UFL star, like converted tight end wide receiver
Hakeem
hybrid.
Butler.
Hakeem Butler. Yeah. He's giving a little Hakeem Butler too.
Yeah. I'm not out on Brown. He's like whatever, but I'm not going to pretend that Chase Brown is like this, like buying like bearer bonds or whatever. Justin Jolly, happy to do that.
I really want to see how the combine goes for Justin Jolly, because he's not expected to run super fast. But it seems like I think there's room for the upside there. So I wonder if he makes a little bit of a mark. The problem is there's so much tight end depth that I feel like right now these rookie tight ends that we might get excited for, like the teams might just be really excited to draft their Josh Olivers, and that are just going to be available on day 3. And so these other guys that we're excited for because they would be better for fantasy if they got an opportunity, just like end up kind of getting lost in the wash a little bit, because it's like, oh, there's all these little Josh Oliver clones we could have. And that's, I think, the direction the NFL is heading. Like,
well, I think
very valuable to have those.
He probably got his measurements already. I would say they're doing the tight ends right now. So I wonder if I can find combine tracker, because I just saw someone just posted Stowers. So live results, tight end. I'm trying to see if I can get anything on Jolly. Because I'd like to know how much he weighs, because Karain made a note. He has a strange frame. Okay, so Jolly, 6'3", 240 pounds, good arms, good size hands. Yeah, pretty good. And he'll I think he is doing I believe he is.
Yeah, I believe he's testing. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, that's good news. And Stowers was at 239. I was like, can we get to 245? But 239 I think was actually better than I expected for him.
Yeah, he's supposed to be pretty fast too. It'll be fun to see how he runs.
Oh, you know what, dude? Darius Slayton. Just give me anyone else. Give me literally. Do you have a?
You got Darius Slayton pilled. You get Wan'Dale Robinson out of there, and you have Malik Neighbors kind of.
No, I don't even have Darius Slayton ranked, dude. He's useless. Well, I ran out of time, so I took Caleb Johnson.
You took Caleb Johnson.
Caleb Johnson is my get to the 20th round, need a 6th running back. I'm in total jail, and I'm like, well, he could be my generation's Blake Corum.
Yeah, he could be Rojo.
Could be Rojo. Yeah, I mean, are they gonna? I guess they probably will retain Gainwell, but I don't think it's like a stone lock that they.
I mean, listen, Gainwell. if Aaron Rodgers comes back, they're doing whatever he wants, which includes Kenny Gainwell. Like, not only do they retain Kenny Gainwell also gets a guest room at Rodgers' home. Like, yeah, if Aaron Rodgers is coming back, it's for everything to go exactly as he orchestrates.
All right. Well, did we like this team? Matt Stafford, Derrick Henry, Ramondre, Jamar Chase, Rashee Rice, Devontae Adams, Dalton Kincaid, Jalen Waddle, Mike Evans, Juwan Jennings, Sam Darnold, James Conner, Hunter Henry, Kamani Vidal, Sean Tucker, Michael Penix Jr., Gunnar Helm, Jacoby Lane, Justin Jolly, Caleb Johnson. Not bad.
We are very strong at wide receiver, and this is pretty similar to what I was talking about, the phenomenon of the sidekick just kind of throwing up its hands at running back and being like, it'll have to do. This is a Derrick Henry smashes, and between your James Conner and Kamani Vidal, and
Well, I mean, that's kind of I actually, like, philosophically, I think that is kind of an interesting way to draft, as running back and quarterback prices have gotten more expensive, and you have to try and find a way to make up those flex scores. Because, like, now getting running back flex scores is going to be hard. It's going to be hard to get running back flex scores because the running backs are starting to be priced up again. And, like, if you take 32-year-old Derrick Henry, in the second round, like, you're basically saying, like, I just got King Henry. You were getting no discount on his production. So the comp, I guess, so my shit doesn't have Jacoby Lane's weight or size in it. The comps are not great, though. The comps are Eric Uzeka the Texas Tech guy who got drafted by Miami, Eric Uzekakanma, Van Jefferson, and Jalen Polk.
Love it.
Hey, Jalen Polk, not that long ago, we were all loving ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Some Jalen Polk. It was not that long ago. Zach, I'm going to do one more. You can hang around or you can leave. It doesn't matter to me.
I got one more in me.
Beautiful. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm very excited for these combine times for the tight end, because some tight end no one's heard of is about to post a 10 RAS. Like literally, like some guy from a directional Michigan school is about to post a 10 RAS.
Let me pull up. I had I think I've got the guy. Hang on.
I mean, there are a bunch of them, right? There always are. There always are. Your Tanner Koziel, if he somehow posted a 10 RAS, would be really interesting because he was a good receiving tight end.
Yes.
But I just know it's going to be like Dallin Bentley from Utah or something.
Oh, here you go, Jaron Canuck.
Oh, from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
He actually can play a little bit.
Oh, he's posting a 10 RAS. Do you know? Have you done any of the combine betting? Have you been betting on 40 times or anything?
Yes, I
okay.
have.
So I was praying for a Jaron Canuck line to get posted. Do you know what he ran in the 100-meter in high school?
No, but I bet it's insane because he's very athletic.
He ran a 10.37.
For a high school kid, that's crazy.
Yes, for reference, Malik Benson, who is supposed to be quite fast, ran a 10.44. And this guy's a tight end running a 10.37. What is happening? Just absolutely blazing. I bet he runs under 4.55. It would not surprise me, which is very fast for a tight end.
I mean, he's not going to weigh a ton because he is more like a fat wide receiver. He's very skinny for the position. So he
probably comes in. Has he weighed already? I bet he comes in 235 or something.
Jaron Canuck NFL Combine. I bet he has.
Yeah, it looks like 234. He weighed
234. Yep, there you go. Wow, and he is from a very small town, not that far away from where I grew up, Hays, Kansas. That is wild. Small arms, small hands. Well, what can you do?
He just needs to run fast. Run fast, Jaron.
Run fast, and everything will be okay. Yeah, he's an interesting name. He could totally be the Zach Kuntz. Maybe not big enough to be Zach Kuntz. Generally speaking, it's like a North Dakota State or a South Dakota State tight end that does it. They just come in, or like a Purdue guy. I know Jacob loves Max Clark. I don't know, man. What literally, what is the point of Max Clark? What is the point?
The point is Max Clark clones are going to become useful in the NFL. They already are very useful, and so it's that's skating to where the puck is going, right? We're about to see a bunch of teams want to run a lot more 12 personnel, and that makes people like him more valuable. So I think that's kind of the appeal. But I do agree, it's not particularly sexy. Whenever the Sidekick recommends him to me, I'm like, do I have to? But I do, because for tight ends,
I just take Eli Stowers. I just take every time a late tight end is recommended to me. I just take Stowers.
Yeah, I mean Stowers is way more fun. But I do
MF and Mackey, man, the MF and Mackey winner.
Yeah, I mix it up because in the past, I just get so gung-ho on guys, especially pre-draft, where I'm we have so little information, and I know that our ability to model this stuff does improve as we get more information. And so let me just not get so over my skis on my opinion on a player. I'll mix it up. I don't have to have 50% Eli Stowers. But you know what? If I just listened to Crane last year and let him rank Harold Fannin how he wanted, probably would have had 100% Harold Fannin and all the pre-draft stuff. And I ended with a lowly, 40-something% instead. So
that's that scenario is exactly what's playing in my head. Imagine Stowers is a second round pick to the whoever, and
Stowers
totally.
Stowers a second round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles, who no longer have Dallas Goedert, and he's literally in the Goddard role, but he's young and exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, like literally exactly. And it's like, wow, I could have just been picking up those nickels off the street. No one would have stopped me. And I said I felt the need to diversify and get Evan Engram and Kate Otten teams. It's
Dude.
like every time Colby Parkinson is recommended to me, oh, this is sick. A-Chain Genty is
that's a nice
disgusting start. Yeah. But yeah, every time Colby Parkinson is recommended to me, I'm just like, no. Like literally no. Just what is the point?
That's how I feel with Evan Engram. Like so many times I'd be like posting in the rankings chat being like, we got to review the Evan Engram inputs. There's no way his range of outcomes is correct. Like, no, it's just he's going in the 20th round, dude. So that's why it's like, okay, I guess. And like, even if he gets fully cucked, where it's like, yeah, this is a guy who's only running 50% of the routes. It's like, yeah, and he's going in the 20th round with a bunch of other guys who are only running 50% of the routes. So the upside for Evan Engram, although it like seems very limited, and that's how we have it modeled, where it's like, dude, there's just not a lot of juice to squeeze out of this. It's like, yeah, but it's in the 20th round, dude, and most of these things they're just not scoring any points for you in the 20th round. So it still makes me feel a little yucky when I get him recommended. But I mix him in with like the Justin Jollies of the world, and the Mike Gesicki's of the world, and guys of that ilk.
Trig actually looks good in my stuff despite being old, because my stuff rewards tight ends who accumulate volume, basically, like guys who are like legitimate volume tight ends. So Trig, despite I think he's 24, 23, maybe he's turning 24. He looks pretty good. Guys, I am so serious. Colby Parkinson is like the tight end 3 on the Rams. I straight up, like I'm not interested. Maybe I'll be way wrong, but I'm really not interested. Like, give me Terrence Ferguson every time. Like every time. Twice on Sunday.
I think it's not that hard to envision both of those guys being able to provide you spike weeks, because they're on the Rams, who are going to score lots of touchdowns again, most likely. And they want to do it by having 2 tight ends on the field, perhaps 3, maybe even 4.
Oh, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they, I'm certain that they will run that back. And it's like, I mean, I have Parkinson like ranked in my stuff, but I'm just like, I just can see this vision of Terrence Ferguson being like a Kyle Pitts clone with Stafford.
He's a lot more fun. It's easier to dream on him for sure.
It's much easier to dream. Wow, are we going to do the?
I mean, what's very easy to dream on though is nothing ever happens and Rashee Rice is not suspended, and we just got a wide receiver that probably could have been a 1-2 turn pick here at the 3-4 turn.
Nothing ever happens. That's what they're saying. Nothing ever happens.
Famously.
Yeah, you know what? I agree actually that Daniels and Hurts are just insane priced on DraftKings, because DraftKings gobbles the quarterbacks up. Like Jordan Love's like the 104th overall pick, and you can get Jaden Daniels in the 6th round. I agree. They're like insanely good picks.
We get a good amount of Daniels, Hurts, and May. The only reason that we don't have more of any of them individually is because all 3 of them are so mispriced there, where it's like they probably should go earlier, but really what happens is Josh Allen's the only guy that goes really early. Like the elite tier of quarterbacks has all fallen down into where, like, if you rewind, I don't know, I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago, we were getting like Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow kind of in like the 5th, 6th territory. And I feel like right now people are just scared to have quarterbacks go in that 3-4 range, except Josh Allen. And then like Lamar goes at like the 4-5 turn or so. And then those other guys who like probably should be a lot closer in relative value just go a whole lot later. So
Zay Flowers. You know what? I like this. I need to move Garrett Wilson down in my stuff, because I think that there is a greater chance than I previously believed that the Jets are in total quarterback wilderness. Like Fields isn't going to start, but like, I don't know, is it Cousins? Like Cousins, I think is like the good outcome for the Jets now.
Yeah, I think Cousins is a decent outcome for them. I wouldn't be surprised if Tua ends up there. They probably don't win the Kyler sweepstakes. The Jets could be in the Derek Carr market, right? I don't know if you saw the very silly report that Schefter put out of like Andy Dalton's phone's ringing off the hook.
I
Guys.
did. I did.
Andy
I did
Dalton's
see
never
that
been
one.
more popular.
Yeah, I did. I did see that one.
I mean, many people are asking, is it the Jets that are calling Andy Dalton's phone? Like, that's one I could believe. That seems like a Jets thing to do, right? To be like, yeah, Andy Dalton is the salve that we need. He fixes everything.
Really incredible stuff to be saying that in 2026, that Andy Dalton would be improving the quarterback situation. I mean, Carr would be a huge improvement. Now, that report on Carr, what was it? Oh, so he only wants to play for a Super Bowl contender. And I mean, I do think he would have to give some money up because he retired while he was still under contract. That's always a little unclear to me.
I mean,
That works.
he's probably just trying to throw his hat in the ring for the Vikings job, is my read on it. And Derek Carr on the Vikings would go brazy. Like I know it's very popular to be a Derek Carr hater, but I promise you, like we've been spoiled, by what to expect out of quarterbacks. Like Derek Carr absolutely would be such a head and shoulders upgrade over JJ McCarthy. Like, and in that offense, I mean, we just saw Sam Darnold win a Super Bowl with the Seahawks, and all credit to Darnold for being able to succeed in that system. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see Derek Carr be able to go and do a very similar thing with the Vikings. I mean, if you remember when Carr was with the Saints before they had all those injuries, and it was the Kubiak season, that offense was looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. I mean, the wheels fell off by like week 3 because everyone died on their team. And Carr got the shoulder injury pretty early in that season, if I recall, and was basically just like hanging on. And then eventually they shut it down. They're like, okay, dude, we don't need to do this anymore.
Well, I do have good news for you, Daniel. If you are a New York Jets fan who doesn't want Malik Willis on your team, I don't think Malik Willis wants to play for the Jets. And I don't think the Jets have Malik Willis money. I don't think the Jets are looking. It'll just be very funny when Malik Willis, who everyone now everyone's opinion is $30 million from Malik Willis, crazy, 6 touchdowns in his career. He can't be the number 1 free agent. It's just going to be very funny when he signs and is good and just like delivers average value on that contract. It's going to be crazy.
I mean, I think if he goes to the right kind of system, he could be successful. Just because we saw him be successful in the right kind of system. However, that was with one of the more creative offensive minds who definitely spends his nights staring at the ceiling and playing Queen's Gambit with Malik Willis plays, that he's trying to come up with.
Yes. Carnell Tate, fine. Yeah. I'm a lead Carnell Tate hater, but it's fine.
Yeah, I think in this spot, I'm pretty happy to get any of Tate, Lemon, or Tyson. I think Tyson's the one I preferred the least. Just I was listening to some stuff from, I believe Brugler was talking about it. And then also when Pat had Froton on, he was saying similar stuff where all 3 of these guys are very, very good. Everyone has them as, the clear top 3 receivers in the class. So I'll go first round. But of the 3, Tyson is the one that's like the least polished. That doesn't mean he can't get more polished, but just when you see the finished product already from Tate and Lemon, they're just a little bit more, you can be a little more confident that the success will translate in a similar way. We were having a pretty fun discussion in the Leg Up Rankings chat where if Brian Thomas Jr. magically was placed back into the NFL draft this season, where would he be ranked among all the receivers? 2.
He would be ahead of Lemon, and he would be way ahead of Tyson. Like his presence would be like Tyson is kind of being. I mean, Tyson's really good, but he has huge medical red flags that the other guys do not have, and his medical red flags are, I think, going to end up being kind of waived because wide receiver is so important, and because there's a pretty big gap to the next group of guys, to Concepcion, Branch, Boston, and those guys. I think BTJ would be 2. And I think he'd go top 10. I think Brian Thomas Jr. would go top. I guess I don't know enough about people love this Arvell Reese and this Sonny Styles guy, and the Miami defensive ends, Bain and Mesidor. But I just don't know enough. Although I don't think there are. I think there's only one like insane offensive lineman in this draft class, I believe. Could be wrong on that, but I think there's only one like crazy like auto hit offensive lineman.
Yeah, I think that was generally our consensus on where Brian Thomas would stack up into this class as well. So it tells you a little something that these wide receivers aren't like in that elite echelon, but there is definitely some depth to the class. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we get a day 2 guy that ends up being very fantasy relevant, just with how many. There's going to be a lot of shots on goal this year, so I feel like it's a reasonably safe bet to make that, hey, in the total population of these day 2 wide receivers, there's going to be something that sticks somewhere. So that is one of the ways I really like that the Sidekick plays receiver, where it'll get you some pretty strong production early in a draft, like Rice, Flowers, Tate. Okay, we can feel pretty confident we've got, at least a floor here for the position group on this team. And then later, let's just throw a couple random rookies in there, like a Jacoby Lane or a Chris Brazzle, or those types of guys at the end of drafts, Zachariah Branch, and then maybe we also mix in some really boring eat your vegetables veterans that can kind of help chaperone along those rookies who we don't expect to have quite as much production in the front half of the season. You take a 20th round Cooper Kupp, where those 8 fantasy points that you get, you poo-poo them now, but in week 4, you'd be on your hands and knees for 8 points to fill the wide receiver 3 spot after Zay Flowers has a dud game, and it's like, oh, please, anything. And then there's Cooper Kupp to the rescue, Mr. Old Reliable, 8 points.
I've forgotten he had 12 targets in the Super Bowl, which is kind of crazy. It's just Cooper Kupp is sort of the age old, like, what's better, getting the 1 in 20 chance of the guy who projects for 13 in, maybe 1 in 100 chance of projecting for 13 in week 17 versus Cooper Kupp, who you're pretty sure is going to project for 8.7 points in week 17.
Well, I bet you I know what our it's DK
good.
Metcalf easy, and then unless we get sniped here, I know what our next pick is going to be.
I mean, I don't think so. I think this is like the wrong way to frame it of like, should we be playing risk averse? It's just like every team kind of needs its own little special ingredients, right?
Yeah, it's pricing the risk, which is what sims do for you. You're able to quantify the risk and say, hey, these are the outcomes for the player. Here's all the bad things that could happen. Here's the good things that could happen, and their relative frequencies, and what you win when you win. And then the sims help you price that, because I think that's a big reason why the Sidekick treats those late wide receivers the way that it does, where it's like, I probably miss on these 2 rookies that I'm slamming a bunch of the time. And so Cooper Kupp makes it so this team's no longer dead. Like, this team could have been dead to advance because I just take too many zeros at wide receiver. Now Cooper Kupp at least helps me limp a team into the playoffs that maybe wouldn't have made it otherwise. And just being able to quantify stuff like that and have, an understanding of the threshold that you need to reach with points to advance out of your pod and then each subsequent playoff round. Sims are pretty useful for that.
It's like basically what they're there for. They're there so you don't have to do that. They're there so that you don't have to do astrology for men, which is, I mean, fantasy sports is astrology for men. Bang, and there we go. We got him.
We got him. I was going to be so sad if we didn't get a Mahomes team on the stream, because I think I've got like 40% Pat Mahomes right now, like almost 70% Kyler. So it's like, if you're just going to do a 2 draft sample, like, the odds of not having Mahomes are pretty low.
What do you guys have for Travis Kelce's probability of playing in the 2026-27 NFL season?
We have him more likely than not to play. I think we've got him closer to like, 2/3 of the time or a little more that he's going to play. And then the other time we have retirement. And then also in that, retirement outcome, there's Travis Kelce plays, but he's actually not doing anything for you for fantasy football. Like, he's Travis Kelce in name only. You know, he's out there, he's active on game day, but he played 22 snaps and 16 of them were blocking, you know, and he's out there kind of just jogging some empty routes. Like things like that can definitely happen. But yeah, we do get him recommended occasionally. He's not someone that we slam. I think, you know, if we get more clarity where he's certainly going to be back, we'd probably have a little bit more interest in him. But there's just so many late tight ends that will be employed and run routes where it's like, I can just take so many of these guys and I don't really have to. We're just gone are the days where like that asymmetric upside for Travis Kelce exists. Like even if we were 2 years ago where it's like he's washed, but he'll still get a bunch of targets and compared to other tight ends, like
dude, he was good last year. He was
cromulent, you know.
What you know what's funny is he was much better last year than the year before, but he looked awful. Like watching him play, you were like, oh God, oh, this guy is horrible. It's like watching an ant play tight end.
Yeah, there were a lot of uncontested targets, where it's like no one bothered to. We don't need to cover him here. Worst case scenario, they throw it to Travis Kelce and like Godspeed to him picking up the first down. You know, was what it looked like a lot of. So
yeah, not ideal. But like like all of his like PFF fancy stuff was like top 10 at the tight end position. Now he'll probably be worse this year. Although I don't know, there have been big advancements in gray market Chinese peptides.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sure Travis Kelce is on the forefront of whatever sort of cheating needs to be done there. He's obviously more expensive now than he was when these contests first opened. Like when first opened, you get him in like 17th, 18th round. And so you are taking more risk on him now.
Yeah, what's the NFL policy on Chinese peptides? What do you think?
I literally don't know. That is honestly, it's a good question because I don't know. Like, can you take BPC 157? Like, probably not.
How do you test? I guess it's just the elevated hormone levels that you'd be looking for the different stuff that it.
Yeah, I assume it's related to testosterone and you can't take that, but I couldn't say with any degree of certainty.
Yeah, we need someone with some inside info. Let us know. Are the NFL players taking retatrutide?
It's long been rumored that. God damn it!
Oh man, it's staring you right in the face.
I'm taking Worthy. I'm taking. We got Mahomes. We got Rashee. I don't need to eat my vegetables. It's fine. I actually, if you think about it, taking Worthy and Rice together is kind of like a boosting situation in which Worthy is like probably a 0 anyways, and a lot of time your 9th round pick is a 0 anyways. And if Rashee is suspended, then Worthy, like, what would Worthy's ADP actually be if Rashee was suspended for a season?
It's too high. but
probably
I agree with you. It would go up, but it's too high.
Yeah. I was making. Oh, it's long been known for the NBA that you can basically cheat the HGH stuff. Like there's kind of deadlines. Like guys know when they can cycle on. And I wonder if the same is true in the NFL, where like it's like, okay, for these 3 months, I can take whatever I want.
I mean, yeah, you have to think like whenever you're in the highest echelons of competition, like if there's something that is a gray area, if you're not taking advantage of that, you simply don't want it bad enough. Well, here you are. It's staring you in the face again.
Whatever. God, I just like literally, like look how far I have to scroll down to get to him in my rankings. It's just like, great.
I mean, I like all of these receivers in this cluster, like Khalil Shakir, Jaden Reed, Chris Godwin, Juwan Jennings. Like all of these are nice, and so the Sidekick definitely mixes those guys in. So I don't want to like poo-poo my Shakir and be like, oh, but I like Juwan, because I like Juwan Jennings and Jaden Reed a little bit better. But it's like, how confident am I in that? Like, even if the inputs that we have for their ranges of outcomes have all of those guys better, it's like there are enough times where those other guys hit the lower side of their range and Khalil Shakir hits, the mid part of his range or the higher part of his range. And it's just, it's very conceivable that there are seasons where you'd prefer Shakir over them just because they're all close enough. Where it's like, dude, what if Shakir just runs really hot on touchdowns in an offense that we expect to score? You know, all those James Cook touchdowns? What if Shakir just runs pretty hot, you know?
Could definitely happen. I mean, that is in the realm of things that could happen. I wouldn't bet on it being likely. Like their organizational emphasis on a wide receiver, the subtext of all of that, of like firing the coach, Brandon Beane going on the radio and getting poo-pooed, like the undercurrent, the metatextual analysis there is Khalil Shakir stinks. Like that really is what it is. Is it's just like, this guy's so miscast to be what we need him to be. I guess because the other guys are also terrible. Like, I just remember Josh Palmer is on their team, which is...
Dude, yeah. Sometimes when I'm going through like all of our inputs and stuff, I see Josh Palmer's name and he's in the Sims. I'm just like, wow, what an absolute blast from the past. Like, it feels like a decade ago that Josh Palmer was fantasy relevant, you know? And yet we drafted him a decent amount last year because he was going in like the 150s and stuff.
What if Keon Coleman comes back? What if old Keon Coleman just like makes good? I mean, it's probably not going to happen, but it could.
What if I take my workouts really seriously and walk on for the San Francisco 49ers this year? There are many things that could happen.
It's just so funny to me that, like, effectively, like, he's just getting shit on by his GM, by
dude. Yeah, that's
coach.
That's
like,
the worst
crazy
thing. It's pretty messed up, man. Like, I honestly can't believe, like, if I were an NFL player that were looking at the Bills as a potential landing spot, like, that would make me not want to go. Like, you're telling me there's a chance that if I go here and our season as a whole collectively goes bad enough and you're just looking for someone to scapegoat, you might just shit on me publicly to the extent that, like, you affect my potential future earnings? No, thank you. I think I'll go literally anywhere else. It just, the vibes are so stupendously bad there.
Yeah, like, I guess I didn't even think about that. Like, obviously he's not getting a new contract with the Buffalo Bills.
And yeah, so who wants it? The Bills literally just, like, it's just, it seems a little unprofessional to me. But you know what? I don't run an NFL front office, so who am I to say?
Who am I to say? All right.
I don't remember a team behaving in that way with their players.
The only other circumstance I can remember. We could do Kyler, or we could do Stroud and set up some of the late Texans.
I think you do Kyler because I prefer Kyler to Stroud straight up. And it might be that we prefer I think we prefer Kyler. If we take Stroud, then maybe we find ourselves in a position where the sidekick's like, oh, well, dude, Kyler was such a better pick anyway. Let's just go ahead and get him as your third quarterback. But we might want like a Trey Benson or Dallas Goedert or Juwan Johnson here, where I'd prefer to take Kyler first to see if we can get one of those guys. And then if we don't, then maybe Stroud is our consolation prize. Where if we go Stroud first, then it's like, I probably am very likely for the sidekick to just tell me, yeah, take Kyler, dude. And I this little pocket of all these guys that just went before us are all guys that I like, and I know the sidekick will recommend in situations like this too. So I didn't want to box us out and be like, well, let's take Stroud. And then it's like, well, Kyler's still there and he's going to be better than any of those guys anyway. So don't bother.
All right. And look, anytime you can make Juwan Johnson your first tight end, you just got this is a nice little ADP. Actually, not an ADP Dipperino on him.
He's kind of fun though. I mean, you did see him come on a little bit with with Shuck down the road, and it wouldn't be surprising to me if the plane is just built out of Juwan Johnson and Chris Olave, and they don't really address wide receiver position because they're like, oh, we traded for Devon Vele. It's fine, dude. Like we've got our wide receiver too. And then that goes as expected. And Juwan Johnson is just basic. I mean, Juwan Johnson was a converted wide receiver. And a couple of years ago, I mean, we were all over this guy. Like it wouldn't be surprising to me that if you think the Saints have a nice, fun offense Juwan Johnson could be a pretty big beneficiary of that.
He's going to get about 750 yards and 5 touchdowns. But if it comes in the right week, it's all it needs. It just has to come in the right week. Zach, please sing sweet harmonies about Trey Benson. I find him fine. I
He's
feel no way.
cromulent. When we were doing his inputs, I think we all expected him to be really high on him. And so the nice thing about the rankings process is that as we're putting together the inputs for the Sims, we can be unbiased in the way that we're providing the inputs to the computer, and then it will let us know, all right, based on everything you told me, here's about where this guy should go. Here's where we're recommending him now. And so I think we were all a little surprised that we didn't like him more, because our internal vibes were like, oh yeah, Trey Benson should be a smash. And I think it's because for people that have been playing basketball for a while, it's really easy to get attached to the upside, like to see especially if there's a clear upside case where it's like, dude, like 30-40% of the time, Trey Benson's the running back one for Arizona. Like Connor's cut, they don't bring anyone else in, or if they do, Benson wins it. Like that's a smash. And it's like, yeah, that's a reasonable assessment, but like also this guy's done nothing so far. He's had lots of trouble with injury. Like the Trey Benson becoming a remember that guy is a super possible outcome. And so it's just, I think that's one of my favorite things about using the sim process is it helps prevent me from getting out over my skis on guys where I really have fallen in love with the upside. And just helps me be a little bit more holistic in the way that we evaluate players. But yeah, we like Trey Benson, but we just don't like him as much as my internal mental model had thought that we would. But yeah, he's a guy we click reasonably often.
I think that Aaron Jones is like either him or Mason is probably getting cut or just like not retained in some way. And
the Vikings have a lot of contracts that are very, very live for restructuring, by the way. Like you want to do the, how will they ever get out of this jam meme for the Vikings? Like this is a real easy spot.
It's very easy. Yeah.
Wriggle out of it. Right. I do think that there's a possibility that one of those running backs gets cut. The problem with the Vikings, and there's a really good segment that the Vikings beat writer for The Athletic did on a recent Athletic pod, is with a lot of these guys where they'd be wow, passing on Rachaad White. Rachaad White's one of my favorites. I know Kelce.
Believe it or not, I am passing on Jeremy McNichols, part 2. No, Rachaad White is interesting because he's going to sign with the Commanders. The question you have to ask yourself is, will he perma banish JCM? Probably, not assured. And then you're fading Algier, Dowdle, James Conner, right? You're fading a lot of the other veteran running backs.
Could Rachaad White not simply be the Austin Eckler of the Washington Commanders? Like, that seems pretty reasonable.
Well, could he play the same snaps? Yes, he could. Yeah. This, by the way, blew my mind, which is that Zach Ertz not only is not planning on retiring, but said he's going to be back playing week 1.
He's jumping rope. Put out a video of him jumping rope.
Zach, dude, you have a beautiful wife. You have a beautiful family. Come on, man. What do you need to be playing for $3.5 million?
Just the love of the game, dude. You got to respect.
Love of the game. This, you know what is funny? This is always blows my mind, but it is true. Ertz is younger than Kelce because Kelce didn't play his rookie year because of the microfracture surgery on his knee. It is crazy. Yeah.
I was surprised that you hadn't psyoped yourself into Rachaad White being a Kansas City Chief and being very good for them.
No, I mean, he certainly could be a Chief. I think he's kind of in the mold of what they like. Like he's just like younger Samaj P. Ryan, less fat Kareem Hunt, sort of kind of. But the whole vibe I'm getting is that they are gonna try and do something dumb at running back. They are gonna like spend a bunch of money on Ken Walker, draft Jeremiah Love. Like the vibes on Kansas City based reporting is they're sick of having this awful run game. I think that's part of why they hired Bieniemy back was the emphasis on the running game. I mean, I don't love it, but
now let me paint you a picture. So, as a Chiefs fan, you remember Jamal Charles, who, by the way, one of the greatest running backs of all time, also competed in the Special Olympics, had a learning disability.
Real.
What if you connect the dots here? Jeremiah Love also, someone in the Slappy Central Discord posted the little piece that they did on Jeremiah Love this last season.
the E60.
Yeah. And that was really
cool.
good. He's either, on the spectrum somewhere, but seems like a really awesome guy. What if the Chiefs have recognized that is what you need to be the absolute greatest at the running back position?
You need a running back who is,
you just need to be a little bit neurodivergent. You just need you can't march to the beat of the same drum that everyone else is. You got to be just a little bit of your own man. And dude, how beautiful would it be if Jeremiah Love goes to the Chiefs and it's like, actually, it just works. Everyone poo-pooing like, oh, you can't spend on running back. And then the Chiefs are like, well, actually, when you have the greatest quarterback of all time and a very strong defense, if you happen to get one of the best running backs in the National Football League, it actually is a good thing.
I mean, I certainly don't think it's impossible. Like having a really sick ground game. Whatever. Dalton Schultz is fine here.
I wanted to see how you reacted to the Dalton Schultz, because he feels like a guy where you might think that's too yucky, but
no, he is like totally fine, because like he produces, like he just totally, there's no risk. You like know exactly what you're getting.
Because even if the bad scenario for him where it's like, oh, the Texans decide to cut him, which I think is pretty unlikely. I think restructure is far more likely than cut, right?
They like him.
Yeah, but so hypothetically they cut him. It's like, do you know how many teams are out there right now that would, in the current NFL meta, where it's like, God, we really would like to have two tight ends on the field.
Two tight ends.
Like guys of the Dalton Schultz ilk, where it's like, he's not a particularly special pass catcher, but he's a capable blocker and a capable pass catcher. Like, dude, that's worth its weight in gold right now. You got teams looking for that. I think David Njoku's also pretty fun for that.
For sure. David Njoku might, if he's not washed, David Njoku is going to get a contract that people are going to be like, what? David Njoku got paid what? Like, remember when Josh Oliver signed 3 years, $24 million with the Vikings, and people were like, who is that guy? Yeah. So Njoku's going to get something like, and maybe it'll only be 2 years because he's older, but it's going to be like 2 years, $20 million.
You know where it is?
What?
It's going to, because I think you'll see this, like, the double tight end and, sometimes even 3 tight end meta that we saw from the Rams. Like, that's going to start to proliferate across the league. There will be a lot of adopters this year, but it'll probably flow through first to a lot of the, Mick Shanny disciples. So here you go. This is the Njoku landing spot. Green Bay decides to add Njoku, and he's there to help bridge the Tucker Kraft recovery. And then when Kraft is back, that's fine. They'll happily roll out both Njoku and Kraft. They lose Dobbs as a pass catcher, and they just say, that's fine. We didn't really like playing, 3 receivers anyway. We'll just play 2 tight ends instead. And then they have Njoku and Kraft, and Musgrave is just, the contingent guy behind both of them.
The only thing that would throw a wrinkle in that is, like, they might still want to play Jayden Reed, and Jayden Reed is not a big boundary winning wide receiver. I don't know. What do you guys have for goal?
Hang on. Actually, he is. They choose to not deploy him in that way. But Jayden Reed, much like Stephon Diggs, was not a winning boundary wide receiver. Initially in Minnesota, it's like, actually he is. You just have a team that is so thoroughly uncreative with the deployment of this player, where they've got him pigeonholed into like, oh, well, he's slot only, much like Josh Downs, where Josh Downs, if you actually look at, like if you go on PFF and look at the target depth stuff, where it breaks out the targets that the player has received in the different bands of depth, where it's like, hey, anything at or behind line of scrimmage, 0 to 10 yards, 10 to 19, deep targets. Josh Downs wins at all depths. Like, he's very successful, whatever they have him do. They just have chosen not to really deploy him in that way. It's the same thing for Jayden Reed. It was the same thing for Stephon Diggs when he was, getting his feet under him in Minnesota before they traded him to the Bills. And you have these guys where they kind of have like similar archetypes and they're similar profiles, at least to an extent. And sometimes it's just purely the deployment that is holding them back. I think that's more the case with Reed, where it could be really, really easy to see like, hey, we've actually decided it's just going to be a Christian Watson, Jaden Reed offense. And Jaden Reed is rotational, where sometimes he comes out and we do the Matthew Golden, experiment again or what have you.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what do you, Geno? Sure.
Yeah.
Geno,
Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, before Geno got cut, we had his probability of starting this year very, very low because we thought he was going to be in purgatory on the Raiders, and there's some probability of them trading him, but like unlikely. And then when they announced that they're going to cut him, all of a sudden you basically have to change the math to what's the probability that all of these quarterback needy teams each individually wave Geno Smith. You map out all the quarterback musical chairs, and it's like, how many different configurations are there where Geno Smith is left without a chair? It's not that many, man.
He's definitely going to be like a bridge starter somewhere. Fine, Brazel. I mean, whatever. I don't feel that strongly about it.
My family needs Chris Brazel to smash this year. Christmas is canceled.
Just like, I don't know. He just doesn't do it for me. He's fine.
So
I don't think he's terrible.
With a couple of these guys here, it's like, dude, the draft capital that Brazel is going to get relative to where he get, like, look where, I don't know about all this Omar Cooper Jr. steam. Like, you guys talked about it well on the Dynasty Roundtable, where it's like, oh yeah, Omar Cooper Jr., the guy who got put in the cuck chair by Elijah Surratt, and yet we're so excited about Omar Cooper Jr. He's steaming up. Like, I'm not really sure that I buy the Omar Cooper Jr. first-round draft capital. And so then if he ends up getting second-round capital, and so does Brazel, and so does, Zachariah Branch and all these other guys, it's like, okay, well, would I rather pay like the 13th or 14th round price for some of these other rookie wide receivers who have similar draft capital? Or do I just effectively make the same bet at large? I'm really just arbitraging like, hey man, like draft capital by itself is the best signal that we have for predicting production in the NFL, and then you can incorporate that and do, use like the slap model to get more signal than draft capital. But if we're just going to pick one thing, draft capital is a pretty nice thing to bet on, especially at this early in the process. And so, I mean, man, if we're getting like round 2 Chris Brazel here at pick 207, like, I think if you run that back 10,000 times, you end up pretty happy, like not that Chris Brazel is guaranteed to smash, but like you make that type of bet enough, you're gonna come out pretty good.
Reasonable. What guys? Oof, Mendoza called him a gadget guy. That's so dark. That's so dark on Omar Cooper Jr.
Yeah, that's not good.
What inputs do you guys have on Golden?
Oh God, I feel like here I'll pull up what we've got.
Because I just like to me, it's like the playoff game is so annoying because I could have just erased him from my memory forever. But him having 4 for 84 and his first career touchdown in the postseason is just like, well, all right, guess we're doing this again. Can't just throw this guy to the wolves. I just am not going to take Evan Engram. No disrespect.
No disrespect taken. That's one of my least favorite ones.
So the Sidekick is doing the thing where it's like, hey man, you kind of just screwed the pooch at running back. So just
no. It doesn't think you screwed the pooch. It thinks you're strong as fuck at running back.
Oh, it just thinks we're cooked.
Well, HN, Genty, and Swift.
I'm gonna teach it about Demond Claiborne.
Okay.
The fastest player in he's gonna be this year's. I'm damning with faint praise. He's gonna be this year's Jaden Blue. Tough scene. Well, maybe not a tough scene. Maybe Jaden Blue with a work ethic actually would have been a great player.
Okay, so like we think that in really good outcomes, Matthew Golden could even be like a Tank Dell. We think Matthew Golden.
I'll take that.
We think he could be better than Jalen Coker in really good outcomes. Let me find some other ones.
Those are very cromulent outcomes for him, I think.
Now, you ready for the cold water? We also think that Matthew Golden could literally be on the bench because I think based on what we saw last season, that's a pretty reasonable outcome.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, so Dubs leaves. So you've got Wicks, you've got Watson, and you've got Reed. It really would depend on where is he in the hierarchy next to Wicks, and then how often are they playing Jaden Reed on the boundary?
Now Wicks, okay, next year Wicks is unrestricted free agent, but he's still under contract here.
Yeah. And he actually, by the way, I just was looking this up. It's a very weird thing. Wicks actually earned himself some extra money.
Yeah, he got
last year.
Performance space.
Yeah, which is I didn't even really realize that existed for guys on rookie contracts. So shout out to my guy, Dontavian Wicks.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, how did we do? Final team here. Mahomes, A-Chain, Genty, Rashee Rice, Zay Flowers, Carnell Tate, Juwan Johnson, DeAndre Swift, DK Metcalf, Xavier Worthy, Khalil Shakir, Kyler Murray, Aaron Jones Sr., Travis Kelce, Dalton Schultz, Zachariah Branch, Geno Smith, Chris Brazzell, Damon Claiborne, and a throwback for the fans, Brashard Smith, for the full Kansas City experience. I'm pretty sure, by the way, they have plans for Brashard, because I don't think they can afford to let Kareem Hunt go, let CEH go, they can't have the backfield just be a rookie and one old guy and I think he's gonna play some.
That would be fun. For whatever reason, they weren't particularly interested in that last year when they had nothing to. I mean, I just don't understand why he didn't get more run at the end of the season. To like, dude, it was a lost season. Like, see what you have here at the position where you have such a clear need. You know, that one was confusing to me. Yeah,
I think the Packers would be interested in re-signing Dubs if it was a reasonable amount of money. You guys are going to be stunned how much money Dubs is going to get.
Oh yeah, he's probably, if not 20, if he doesn't clear 20 mil, it's going to be close. It'll be like 18 a year or something.
He's going to get Christian Kirk money, dude. It's just crazy.
Yeah,
where's Christian Kirk going to play? Isn't he an unrestricted free agent?
I believe so, yeah. I mean, God, where does Christian Kirk go? That feels like a Titans ass signing.
That dude, Christian Kirk and a Titans jersey.
In division, you know, head on over to Tennessee. They're a team with all the money, you know. So it's like if you're a guy who's just kind of like a cromulent veteran like Christian Kirk, where you don't really particularly do all that much, but you sure would like to get paid $15 million to play national football again, then yeah, that could make sense for him.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, shout out to our friends at DraftKings over here for sponsoring us this week and next week on the channel. We'll be back in those streets. $250,000 to first place. Did you ever think when you first registered for your DraftKings account that on February 27th you would be drafting a fantasy football team that had the potential to win $250,000?
I'll be 100% honest. I never anticipated that I would be drafting in February for best ball. I thought that was like a June and after type activity, and I am a very sick individual when it comes to best ball. The way too early stuff has just gone crazy these last couple of years.
Yeah. It is. It's beautiful. I'm very thankful to my friends over there. There is a link in the description down there. There's probably a reasonable amount of people who watch this who have never drafted a best ball team on DraftKings, only on their competing websites. So you can go and hop in those streets over there. And if you want someone to hold your hand, you can use the Sidekick, which you can get from legendaryupside.com. And you too can be drafting Alvin Kamara and Cooper Kupp once there are no other recognizable guys on the board.
You can draft exactly like me and just click the top guy every time, or you can draft like Davis and occasionally click the top guy when it tickles your fancy, but also disagree vehemently with it and say, no, I refuse to take the yucky picks. I'm going to take the guys that I like instead. It's that's the beautiful thing about it. It's it's very flexible. You can use it to your heart's desire.
Honestly, like I actually think it is almost to me more valuable this time of year than it is in August, because I have some ideas. It's more easy it reins me in a little bit easier in February. I'm like, you know what? Sometimes instead of just taking Michael Trigg, maybe I can just take Kate Otten on this team. Maybe instead of taking Ted Hurst again, maybe I can just take Cooper Kupp.
God, Ted Hurst is so fun. He is
fun. He is fun. All right, everyone, we're gonna get out of here. Make sure that you click like. Make sure you click subscribe, and thank you to our friends over at DraftKings.com.